Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? It's Rusty from Pokey's Corner. Today I'm joined by Terry. But before we start, I just want to say that somebody's just sent me something, and I think it's really, really funny, this, and it's great that people are pretending to be me on other live chats, but we don't comment on live chat. All right. So just so you know, we don't comment on live chat. We do comment on here. We reply to nice comments, but we don't do a live chat on other people's channels. All right. How are you doing, Terry?
Mate, all good, mate. Who would have thought? Like, who would have thought when we woke up today we'd have we'd have the day we had today?
I have to give the dripping tap credit today because he said last week that Conor Ben's jaw was square, didn't he?
Yeah, he's bang on the money on that one.
So what do you make of it all? I've jotted a few things down since I've come in. I've not been in long for this late night one with you, Terry. But dripping tap called it. But where is the same energy for the Dylan White failure when that went ahead and all that B sample messing about? It were all hushed then, but now all of a sudden we've got Sky Sports putting Sky News. We've got Gareth A. Davis, Spencer, all the talk sport lot. They've all seemed to there's not the same energy that for Conor Ben that they were for Dylan White, is there? It's different energy in it.
Okay, so here's the problem. The real problem is, for years we heard Eddie Hearn say VADA's the gold standard for anti-doping, right?
Yeah.
There are videos of him saying. Now VADA catches fighter and he's trying to backtrack from that. And we're like, we're not stupid. You told us VADA was the real deal. You told us that's why you chose VADA, because you needed that top level understanding and you needed that deterrent so people didn't cheat. Now Conor Ben's been caught by VADA for clomiphene, which is essentially Clomid, right?
Yeah.
Now, Clomid in itself isn't performance enhancing by any stretch of the imagination. The reason it's banned is it's what you use to restart your balls, right? When they stop making testosterone, you inject either Clomid or HCG to get your balls going again. Now, why would a 26-year-old man need to get his testosterone going again?
He won't, will he? Because
you see what I mean?
Vaulting out of bed, won't he? Surely at that age.
Exactly. So if he hasn't got testosterone, if he's hypogonadal, he'd have had a therapeutic use exemption for Clomid, right? Or if he was trying for a kid, he'd have had a therapeutic use exemption, and Hearn would have just come out and said, no, he's got TUE, fine. And then we would have all shut up at that point and gone, all right, cool, nothing to argue here. But he's been caught on this, and so there are a number of questions, Rusty, you know this.
Yeah.
With VADA don't have to notify the board, but VADA have to notify everyone that signs the testing agreement. So that's Conor Ben, Chris Eubank Jr. gets notified immediately, and the promoters get notified. So they've all known about this for weeks. And clearly they were praying that this didn't get out. That's what annoys me, is that this has been a cover-up that got exposed. So if they've done this on this occasion, what other fights have been allowed to go ahead because there's been a handshake behind the scenes? We don't know.
It's what we don't know, isn't it?
That's the worrying thing. This all feels like they've done this before.
Yeah, it does. It's all too well rehearsed, isn't it?
Yeah. There's none of this. They're not even trying to figure anything out. They're almost like, yeah. Go straight into plan B. If that doesn't work, go into plan C. If that doesn't work, get the lawyers in.
And then go to Malta and Luxembourg because they're soft, aren't they?
So you can't do that anymore because they're not part of the EU.
Yeah. That's
so when we're part of the EU, we had free movement of goods and services, right? So anyone could be a sanctioning body as long as they were part of the EU. Once we left the EU, Luxembourg, Malta, all of that stuff falls out the sky, essentially. The only option I think is BBB, because I think that's now British based.
Yeah.
So yeah, shouts out to Ian John Lewis. It's almost like he knew this was coming.
How did John Lewis know it would come in?
Imagine if he did and he went, bro, they're gonna end up boxing on Bieber. Let me make sure that I'm ready.
Oh yeah, he's jumped ship, hasn't he? Oh he was pushed, wasn't he, really? Bless him. He leaves a bad taste in my mouth because you're going to see people popping up loads of videos. Eddie going on about testing, and Bellew saying that he's going to take baseball bats to people who in his company or cheated and all this, and put them into stocks and stone them. And I have a problem with the Boatsi Pascal fight because 8 days ago that Eddie said this fight's not going ahead because there's not VADA testing in place, and that the safety is paramount to the fighters and the opponents on either side. Well, Conor Ben's tested positive, but Eddie still wants to go ahead. But it was VADA that was testing. I thought they were the best ones and the ultimate blue ribbon company. But now he's going against the grain. He's not thinking about fighters' safety, is he? What do you think, Terry?
Yeah, and you hit it bang on the head there, Russ. The noise they made, Pascal, he has to go through VADA. You know, he has to. He's got a history of cheating. We need to keep the sport as clean as we can, despite what happened with Dillian, and that was on VADA's watch. He still said VADA is important. Now his cash cow, his pet project, remember that Conor Ben's the pet project. Now he's been caught. VADA's not that important.
Yeah.
And now he's hiding behind UCAD and saying, well, he didn't fail UCAD, so the board can't stop this fight. The board quite rightly have said, you got someone who failed for Clomid. This is a problem. The fight can't go ahead until we're satisfied that there's nothing to be worried about here. And now they're talking about we need to get lawyers involved. Why? The board said no. Can you imagine if the Premier League said, right, you lot, you know, the Queen's passed away, no one's playing on Saturday. Can you imagine if Manchester United said we're getting the lawyers?
I can imagine. I can imagine it. Yeah, can you?
No.
Why not?
The reputation damage of a football club going against the governing body.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
No chance in hell, Russ. It doesn't happen. And the reason it doesn't happen is the Premier League is strong when everyone moves together, because that's the product.
You mean like that group that they were going to breakaway group thing and all that? Everybody else stood firm, didn't they?
Yep.
Nobody stands firm in boxing, though, do they? They all just hope it goes away, don't they, kind of thing?
Yeah. It's a mess. And so I think what Hearn does next will probably be one of the last moves he can make as a promoter. If he cancels the fight, he's probably in trouble with DAZN from a revenue perspective. And to be honest, there's a lot of DAZN reputation damage happening now.
Oh, they're on the knees if this goes on. Bricktop will be loving this one. He might even be behind it. He might be giving people a little push to say, look, come on, he's already done it with Dylan White. Where's this B sample? How long ago was that?
Yeah.
Is that getting on for 4 years ago now? We're into pushing 4 years, aren't we, nearly?
Yeah. So
get that, mate. And that now it's happened again. But everybody's coming out with same old stuff. Oh, well, he's been and had another test, and that's clear. And they're going the same old rematch route.
So none of that matters. Once you fail, you're done. What should happen, and this happens in other sports, once you get the adverse finding on your A sample, you are suspended pending the results of the B sample. If your B sample's clear, you come back again. I think one of the Russian rowers might have got away with something like that back in the day.
Why don't they rush it through on by courier and get it done before Saturday? I mean, there's testing places all over that can do it, isn't there? They could fly someone in from VADA again, couldn't they?
Well, yeah, it's a process thing. Like, you have to notify the person, that you have to say, do you want the B sample tested? And they have to say yes, and you got to do all the paperwork. And by the time it's all done and validated and signed off, it's probably like a week and a half anyway.
Well, Dylan White's one, we're still waiting for the result, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, that's what's that? Getting on for 40 months, something like that.
But remember I said this to you years ago about the Dillian White. If he hasn't had the B sample tested, he can't be subject to any disciplinary process.
Yeah.
So if he was getting lawyers in to challenge the board, what were they challenging? You could the whole thing doesn't kick in till the B sample is valid. That's why the board is saying that this fight, we don't want this fight to go ahead, because they're like, well, where's the B sample? What happened with the B sample?
Yeah.
There's no way there's a B sample sat around and tested at the moment. I have a feeling that everyone knows that these guys were dirty. VADA just said, right, we only have to notify you, the boxer, and you, the promoter. That's our job done. You do with it what you will.
Well, it's a messy situation. I'm noticing that relationships that have been a bit fracas, shall I say, to say the least. It's probably like with people at Sky and all that. They're all sticking booting now, aren't they, on them? On DAZN, a lot of them are, aren't they?
But not hard enough, because he was the one who was crying about Jarrell Miller.
Yeah.
He was crying about Jarrell Miller.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he tried to ruin Miller, didn't he, over it all?
Yeah, Molina, another one that he made a whole heap of noise about. And so I'm back to this point of, number one, Eddie Hearn works with drug cheats anyway. He has no problem working with drug cheats because he brought Molina back for, was it Fabio Wardley? So he on his watch, the idea of doping has just been watered down to well, it was only trace amounts. It wasn't that bad. He probably got it because someone farted next to him and he just inhaled the smell. All that sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
All that sort of nonsense. What should have happened, right? And let's just strip this down. What should have happened is, as soon as Eddie Hearn started talking nonsense, one of those idiots like Darren Barker should have just punched him in the face and said, look, the guy's been caught cheating. He shouldn't be boxing. That's the end of it. That's all that needs to happen. Instead, he goes to his little company men, that moron Darren Barker and the idiot Chris Lloyd, and he goes and he kisses their backsides and they kiss his backside. It's just a daisy chain of rubbish. When really what should be said right now today is that fight does not happen. Yeah. We can't reward people who get caught cheating. Full effing stop. That's it.
No tolerance for that now, innit? Got to be.
Or to be honest, or the other thing I'd respect is if Eddie Hearn just said, none of my fighters are ever getting tested again. I'd respect that as well. If he said, take what you want, I'm not testing anyone on my shows anymore, I'd also respect that. Because I'm not overly principled about whether athletes take drugs or not. I'm a bit jaded to it, to be honest, Russ. So I'm indifferent now. I'm like, if you take him, you take him. If you don't take him, you don't take him. Just don't get caught.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do it properly. Like people are alleging Terry Harper was juicing. If she was, well done, because she did it properly. She got in and out with no drama. She did her thing. Now, if she starts growing body hair on her stomach and stuff, well, that's squarely on her shoulders and squarely on her jaw.
Yeah, but she passed all tests, didn't she? So
yeah, well done. I say that, well done. You did it properly.
The test, though. So I mean, if Anna Rankin had failed the test, do you think that Eddie Hearn had been so? It would have acted the same as calories.
Fight would have been off.
It would have crucified Dennis. Do you know what I mean? It would have hung him out to dry, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Right. So let's all start being honest about this, and let's just say this fight shouldn't happen on Saturday. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't. And anyone that supports this fight on Saturday, anyone that watches it, anyone that pays for that pay-per-view, you're the problem.
Yeah.
You guys should be, because these are the same people that your listeners, Russ, are the same people that were like, I'm not renewing my season ticket if you don't form a Super League. Yeah? Everyone held their ground when it came to football. I want to see them hold the same ground when it comes to boxing.
They won't, will they?
They won't, because they don't care that much. As much as people are acting outraged online, they don't care. Conor Benn came out with a statement and he said, I'm a clean athlete. And it's like, well, no. This is why, mate, you can't come up with a statement that says, I'm a clean athlete, when you're having to issue a statement because you're not a clean athlete, factually speaking.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, yeah.
And we allow this every time. We allow this.
Yeah.
No one has ever asked Dillian, what happened with the B sample? Tell us what the process was in that week. Has the B sample ever been tested, Dillian? No one's ever asked him that.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? It's odd, isn't it? It's an
But
odd.
when international fighters do, when foreign fighters do it, everyone's quick to judge and moralize and say this and say that. But when it's one of the cash cows, feel sorry for him. He's been through a lot. Well, Chris is okay still fighting him, you know. So if Chris is okay fighting, what's it got to do with you lot? It's like we don't care about Chris Eubank at this point, quite frankly. He's irrelevant. The fact is, this guy's broken the rules. He has broken the rules. And he has to be punished for breaking the rules. And you can't say, well, let him fight, let him make his 4 million quid, then we'll punish him. No, don't let him make the 4 million quid. I don't want to see a weigh-in. I don't want to see a weigh-in. I don't want to see a press conference. Because if there's a press conference and nobody asks about this mess, that will let you know everything you need to know.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you that. It's one of my questions. Are people going to be allowed to ask the questions? Because I've heard Trish Dixon wants to ask them, but will he be allowed?
If you're a media outlet and you go to a press conference this week and you don't ask that question, you shouldn't be allowed. Everyone should unfollow these people. If Cougar doesn't ask the question, unfollow him. If Umar doesn't ask the question, unfollow him. Unsubscribe from these channels and start subscribing to a channel like this that will ask those questions.
Oh, I'd ask it. No messing about. I said, why are you putting this fight on, Eddie? Why? When you said it were paramount for safety, this is why VADA involved. VADA have just busted your man and you want to put it on. What if Chris Eubank gets hurt?
No. What if Conor Benn gets hurt? Because that's my biggest worry, Russ, is you've basically blown this kid up, yeah, and you've given him a middleweight's body. But O'Hara Davis broke his jaw as a junior welterweight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So are we going to get another Kell Brooks situation where someone's face gets broken? Is that what we're looking at here?
Could be.
And then all will be sat there like when Conor Benn when his face is caved in, and we'll just be like, well, why do we let this fight go ahead?
It's about pound notes, isn't it, basically? It's about pound notes, isn't it, really? I mean, when you look at it, Terry, Chris Eubank, right? I know I go on about the IBO being a world title, but let's put that to one side. He's won a British. Conor Benn's not won anything, has he? He's not won a belt, right? Area English British. He's not won any domestic belts. He's 26, other ones, 20, 32, 33, right? They're not world champions. They're not even best in Britain in their weight divisions. So why are we all losing our minds over this? Why? Have I said something wrong there?
No, not at all.
I lost their minds over it, aren't they? They're not exactly at the top of the games, are they? One's a novice and one's practically a veteran, isn't he? He's on slide, isn't he? Trying to get fights with Jake Paul.
It's a dangerous fight. Like from that perspective, it's a dangerous fight. We know what O'Hara Davis did to the jaw. We know what other people have done to Conor Benn before he discovered the needle.
That's why he's gone on juice, isn't it? Because he's thought, I'm in an hard fight. Yeah, I need to.
Oh, like father, like son.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Yeah. You know, his dad knew it were an hard fight against you, wasn't he? We're not seeing his dad fail any dope tests because he didn't, did he? But
no, but he's admitted to taking everything, and then he was hanging around with those Carlton Leach characters who we know were on it. So you're telling me this guy was just around steroid heads, and not once did he think about taking it? Ah, come on.
Well, there's no proof of that, so we can't say that, can we?
No. Okay, so what we can say is it would be highly suspicious if he hadn't, in my eyes, just based on what I've heard.
You mean on associate? Are you going on about the fact that they didn't test him after the McClellan fight because he collapsed, didn't he, when he were walking back to the dressing room, didn't he?
Numerous times they haven't been. That the testing then wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
And most boxers looking historically, let's not drop names in it, but most boxers from the 70s and the 80s admit to taking stuff. Sometimes they didn't know what the little blue pills were. Sometimes they did. Sometimes they didn't know what the injections were. Sometimes they did. But boxers have always been taking stuff to get an edge. This isn't anything new. And hopefully guys like Frank Warren are putting pressure on the board to do the right thing now. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Frank come out and say, the board are doing the right thing here. This is the right thing for boxing, and we should all be getting behind it.
Well, listen, the Gads just impressed me earlier on TalkSport. He's come out and, well, he's going to say that he's Team Frank, isn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Want to click on next, Terry?
Hmm?
Click on next link, pal.
No worries.
Just click on to part 2.